Someone raises their voice. Within seconds, the entire conversation feels different. Most people assume that's the moment emotions take over. Psychology suggests something more surprising. The moment you lose control usually happens before you realize you've lost it. Before you've decided what you think, your body has already begun deciding how quickly you'll react. Your breathing becomes shallower. Your thoughts speed up. You stop listening to understand and start listening for what you need to defend. That invisible shift changes far more conversations than anger ever does, because pressure rarely changes your beliefs. It changes the conditions under which your brain has to use them. When the emotional temperature rises, the mind quietly changes its priorities. Understanding becomes less important than certainty. Reflection becomes less important than speed. Curiosity gives way to self-protection. The strange part is that nothing outside you has changed yet. The words are the same. The room is the same. The people are the same. Only your prediction has changed. And once the brain predicts danger, it begins treating ordinary uncertainty as something that needs to be solved immediately. Imagine you're in a meeting. Your manager looks at your presentation and says, "I'm not convinced this was your best work." No one else speaks. The room becomes quiet. Before you've even decided whether the criticism is fair, your attention has already started moving. Part of it follows the words, part of it follows the tone. Another part begins scanning everyone else's faces. Who agrees? Who looks uncomfortable? Who just changed their expression? Without realizing it, you're no longer trying to understand what was said. You're trying to predict what happens next. Will this affect how people see me? Do I need to defend myself? Should I respond immediately? Notice how quickly the conversation stopped being about ideas. Nothing dramatic happened. No one shouted. No one insulted you. Yet internally, the goal has already changed. You're no longer searching for what's true. You're searching for what's safe. That shift is almost invisible, but it quietly changes every decision that follows. This is where many people misunderstand pressure. They think it forces us to make bad decisions. More often, it does something subtler. It changes how we make decisions. Instead of asking, "What's actually happening?" our brain quietly switches to a different question. What do I need to do right now? Those two questions may sound similar. They're not. One searches for understanding. The other searches for immediate relief. And when urgency takes over, relief usually wins. That's why arguments often accelerate before they become emotional. One person answers a little faster. The other interrupts. Someone's voice becomes slightly sharper. Within moments, the conversation develops a rhythm that nobody consciously chose. Here's what makes this difficult to notice. It rarely feels emotional. It feels reasonable. I'm just explaining myself. I'm just correcting them. I'm only matching their energy. But that's exactly how pressure spreads. Not because people consciously choose it, because humans naturally synchronize with one another. Watch two close friends talking. After a few minutes, they'll often begin matching each other's posture. Their tone becomes similar. Their pauses become similar. Sometimes they even start speaking at the same pace. Most of the time, that's exactly what makes conversations feel natural. Connection depends on that flexibility. Pressure uses the very same ability. The only difference is what begins spreading. Instead of trust, people start mirroring urgency. Instead of curiosity, they mirror defensiveness. Instead of patience, they mirror speed. The mechanism hasn't changed, only the emotion has. And that's why pressure can move through an entire room without anyone intending it. Something else changes at the same time. Your attention quietly narrows. You stop asking, "Is this true?" and begin asking, "Is this dangerous?" That's a completely different conversation. The first question helps you understand reality. The second helps you protect yourself. There are moments when protection is exactly the right response, but emotional urgency often asks that question long before genuine danger exists. You've probably experienced this yourself. You walked into a conversation hoping to understand someone. 10 minutes later, your only goal was proving you were right. The topic barely changed. Your attention did. And once attention changes, the conversation usually follows. This is where emotional regulation is often misunderstood. Many people hear the phrase and imagine suppressing emotion, keeping a straight face, pretending nothing bothers them, waiting for the feeling to disappear. But that's not what emotional regulation is. In psychology, emotional regulation isn't about eliminating emotion. It's about influencing what emotion becomes before it becomes behavior. That difference changes everything. Because emotions usually arrive without permission. Behavior doesn't have to. Think of the difference this way. Suppression says, I shouldn't feel angry. Regulation says, I'm angry. But anger doesn't get to write my next sentence. One fights the emotion. The other protects the decision. And that's where freedom quietly begins. Feelings are fast. Decisions don't have to be. The challenge is that the space between feeling and action is incredibly small. Sometimes it's less than a second. That's why most people never notice it. Pressure fills the gap almost immediately. Your brain predicts. Your body prepares. Your mouth starts forming an answer before you've consciously chosen one. The reaction feels automatic because, in many ways, it is. But automatic doesn't mean inevitable. Here's something worth noticing. Have you ever replayed a difficult conversation hours later and suddenly thought of 3 responses that were calmer, clearer, and probably more effective? Most people have. It's tempting to believe wisdom arrived later, but something much simpler happened. Urgency left. Your breathing slowed. Your attention widened. The better response wasn't created afterward. It became accessible afterward. During the conversation, your mind was investing most of its energy in protecting you. Later, it could afford to become curious again. That's why emotionally steady people don't necessarily think faster than everyone else. Often, they simply create enough space for better thinking to catch up. Sometimes that space is one slow breath. Sometimes it's allowing 3 seconds of silence. Sometimes it's saying, I'd like to think about that before I answer. These responses don't make the conversation weaker. They interrupt a pattern that was already beginning to control everyone involved. Not because silence is powerful, not because breathing is magical, but because they change one crucial thing. They change who gets to choose your next sentence. And the moment choice returns, the conversation has more than one possible future. There's a question hidden inside every difficult conversation. Not who's right, not who wins, but something much quieter. Who is choosing your next response? Most of us instinctively answer, I am. But under pressure, that's not always true. Sometimes your next sentence is chosen by embarrassment, sometimes by fear, sometimes by the need to protect your reputation, sometimes by the emotional rhythm of everyone else in the room. The moment you recognize that, something important becomes possible. Choice returns. Not because the conversation has become easier, not because the other person has suddenly become reasonable, but because you've stopped confusing urgency with necessity. That single realization changes everything. You no longer have to match the emotional pace in front of you. You can choose a different one. Sometimes the next right response is curiosity. Can you help me understand what you mean? Sometimes it's honesty. I don't know the answer yet. Sometimes it's a boundary. I'm willing to continue this conversation, but not like this. Sometimes it's silence. And sometimes the healthiest decision is to leave the conversation altogether. None of those responses guarantee a better outcome. The other person may still disagree. They may still become defensive. They may never change their mind. Calmness isn't a strategy for controlling other people. It's a strategy for remaining connected to yourself. Many people spend years trying to become someone who never gets emotionally affected, but that's an impossible goal. Being emotionally affected is part of being human. Emotional maturity isn't measured by how little you feel, it's measured by how much choice remains available after you feel it. The next time you notice your breathing becoming faster, your shoulders becoming tense, or your mind racing toward the perfect comeback, don't ask, how do I stay calm? Ask something better. Who is choosing my next response? If the answer is fear, you still have a choice. If the answer is embarrassment, you still have a choice. If the answer is the pressure in the room, you still have a choice. That choice may last only a second, but 1 second is often enough to change the direction of everything that follows. The next time pressure asks you to match its speed, don't. Not because slowing down guarantees a better outcome, and not because calm people always win, but because every moment you refuse to match the pressure, you reclaim the right to choose your next response. That's what calmness really protects, not the conversation, you. Because calmness isn't about controlling the room, it's about refusing to let the room choose who you become.